We've got the All Blacks side for Twickenham, and it's all over. It's done. England are going to walk this because New Zealand have only picked 2 vice-captains. Done. We've got 3 starting and a vice-captain on the bench. Game over. I don't understand the obsession with multiple vice-captains, but there we go. I will say, joking aside, if I had to summarise this video down to one statement, it would be, I'm nervous because this might be the best team that Scott Robertson has selected since he's been New Zealand head coach. Do you agree with that statement? And if you are an English fan, are you also a little bit nervous about Saturday at Twickenham? That's my overriding thoughts. There's more to it than that, though. And I'm still an optimistic Englishman, still holding out hope for the boys. Lots to talk about on this video. I'm Tim, and this is Egg Chasers. And if you get value from the channel, if you love your rugby, and you want to make sure you don't miss any of the videos that I'll be dropping daily, as often as I can throughout the month of November, with all this international rugby going on, hit subscribe on the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and leave your comment down below. Yeah, on that statement, is it the best New Zealand side we've ever had? The headlines, no Ethan De Groot, which is a big blow. #1 on the team sheet. And, you know, that's another reason. England, not only have we got 4 vice-captains, I don't know, New Zealand start with #1 and finish with number 23. What's that about? Aren't they going to go number 15 down to 9, then #1 to 8, and then 16 to 23? That's how a team sheet's done, isn't it? So, yeah, no Ethan De Groot. That's a blow. But the mighty Williams, as he should be known, is a pretty handy deputy. And with the mighty Williams for New Zealand and Finn Baxter waiting on the bench for England, you have got 2 of the biggest, most baby-faced young athletes in rugby going head-to-head. They look about 12 and 13, the pair of them, but they're playing big boy rugby on the Cabbage Patch this weekend. Bodie is at 10. That's the other big headline here. And Mark Talea is back in. And on the right wing as well, which I've always thought was his position. And, well, I mentioned on a video recently, I was talking about what is the hardest shirt in international rugby to pin down and keep. And I said that perhaps the wing shirts for New Zealand are the hardest shirts to hold down because the competition is so fierce. And just the number of wingers in different jerseys that Razor has had in his short time as head coach speaks to that. Other very hotly contested shirts would be South Africa's 15 jersey, England's 10 jersey, England's 7 jersey. I'll get onto England in a minute. But it's great to see Mark Talea, a man who dips himself in a giant vat of Vaseline before he goes out to play. He's like I'm sure he's like 10% eel. And yeah, he's going to keep England's back 3 busy, I feel. Yeah. Best New Zealand team of Razor's reign, I said. And a big part of that is the fact that Bodie is in the 10 jersey. I mean, he's just one of those guys. And fly half is one of those positions where players can play for years, even when their body starts to slow down a little bit. And he still is quick, but he had in the past searing pace. But that was one of his magic powers. But he's just got the speed of thought. Bodie is an absolute master, and he would be my choice at 10. I like the DMAC experimentation. It's good that he got an opportunity. No one can say that Damian McKenzie has not had the chance to make the 10 jersey his own. But since Richie Mo'unga went, I think Bodie is the automatic choice. And with Will Jordan at 15 as well, mwah, chef's kiss with Damian McKenzie on the bench, covering both of them to a very, very high level. Front row, let's go through the team then. Front row, Ethan De Groot, I'm assuming it's injury, I don't know. The mighty Williams, big unit. I am a little bit worried at scrum time. Will Stewart, now is your time. It's about time a tight head prop for England stepped up and actually managed to hold up a scrum. Dan Cole, still doing it into his late 30s. He needs someone else to take the pressure off him. Come on, Will Stewart. I'm willing it to happen. I'm not convinced, but let's see. By the way, I am going to pick a combined 23-man squad in a minute. If you had access to all 23 Englishmen, all 23 New Zealanders, who would you pick if you did like-for-like comparisons, shirt by shirt? I'll get to that in a minute. Second row then, been very impressed by Tupu Vai. I think England will target New Zealand in the line-out area. That's one area they got. They did better than them in New Zealand in July, and I think that's a big area that England will be targeting, and that's part of the reason why Chandler Cunningham-South has been picked in the back row. Meanwhile, New Zealand in the back row have gone for a real positive selection. 3 shorter, I mean, I was going to say smaller, but they're not small. Wallace Satiti is not small. He's a big, big boy. They're shorter, so England still could have a go at them at line-out time, but how explosive is Ardie Savia and Wallace Satiti in the back row, and Sam Cane slowing down England's ball at the breakdown. That looks good to me. Half-backs, here we go. It's on. Cortez Ratimer against Cameron Roygaard. Their little battle for supremacy in the New Zealand 9 jersey begins. They're going to push each other and make each other better, and it feels like a new era now properly with the 2 of them in the 23-man squad. Bodie, as I've already said, love it. Centres, Geordie Barrett, love it. Rico Ioane still feels a little bit like a square peg in a round hole, and I think he does his best work on the wing. Anton Linnett-Brown is covering there. No Billy Proctor, who I think is the future of that 13 jersey. But you can't really complain, and it's an area where England, we don't have a lot of depth either. So I think New Zealand will probably feel like they've got an edge there. And that back 3, it's got gas, serious gas. A 5-3 bench, all bases covered in a way that England's are not. And the forwards coming off the bench with Pasilia Tosi and Co and Auma, they've Tuipulotu and Finau. They've got size coming off the bench, and they've got impact in those halfbacks with Cam Roygaard and Damien McKenzie. I like this squad a lot. So if you had access to every single player from New Zealand and everyone from England, who would you go with? Well, firstly, I've got 3 big battlegrounds that I think are going to decide this match. And the first one of those is second row. I've already touched upon it. I made a statement the other day, and again, I've made one statement already. This is the best team Scott Robertson has named for New Zealand. Do you agree? Here's another one. George Martin and Maro Itoje are on their way. I'm not saying they're there yet, but they could well be, give it another year, the best lock pairing in world rugby. Big statement. I don't think I'm being too parochial or biased as an Englishman. I think Maro Itoje is back to being world class again. And I think he would get into every international team in the world. I think he'd make a world 15 the way he's playing in 2024. George Martin is one of the best young players in the world. 22. He may have turned 23. Point being, he's young and he smashes things. He absolutely atomizes teams. And if you think back to the World Cup semi-final against South Africa, George Martin against the most physical of teams was huge. And he needs a massive performance up against New Zealand, who've got a decent pack. Scott Barrett, has his form dipped a little bit with the captaincy? Well, if that's the case, it's been mitigated by the fact Tupu Vai has been amazing stepping into the New Zealand second row and has really solved the problem for them. And it's going to be a huge battle between those 4 guys at the weekend. The fly halves. There was a little article where good old Stuart Barnes, you can always rely on him to get some attention, just like Joe Marler. Stuart Barnes said that Marcus Smith is better than Beauden Barrett. I will say this is a huge game for Marcus Smith. I mean, personally, and again, you might think this is a controversial statement, I think the best fly half that will be at Twickenham on Saturday will be George Ford. But Marcus Smith is undoubtedly an incredibly talented guy, and this is the kind of game that can establish him as the out-and-out first choice 10 for England. If he has a big performance in this at home against New Zealand, knowing that South Africa are coming in a couple of weeks' time, this is big for Marcus Smith, who has all the talent in the world, precociously talented, amazing in the Premiership, really good at international level, hasn't fully established himself at that level. Beauden Barrett, meanwhile, has got 12 years at the very top. He's back in the 10 jersey. He's got all that experience. Is Marcus Smith better? I'm not going to say that. He could be, as Beauden Barrett is at a later stage in his career. He could be, but I'll come on to my combined team and I'll tell you what I thought. The third battleground that I cannot wait to see is Ben Earl up against Ardie Savia. I think Ben Earl's got a realistic shot at being a nominee for World Player of the Year. He's been so good in 2024. Now, he's up against some huge players in that category. Obviously, he's up against the current World Player of the Year. And I still think Caelan Doris would be ahead of him, even in the number 8 position. But a big set of November Test matches And Ben Earl could get himself a nomination for World Player of the Year. So good. And Ardi Savia, maybe not at his level of 2023, but obviously a world-class individual. That's going to be huge to see. By the way, just on breakthrough players, there's a few of them on the pitch. The end-of-year awards, the breakthrough player of the year, I think Emmanuel Faye-Waboso could be a contender, Wallace Satiti and Tupu Vai. So a few are on show in this match. There's my combined team. What do you reckon? So if you had access to all 23 Englishmen, all 23 South Africans, and you pit number 1 against number 1, number 2 against number 2, number 3 against number 3, and so on all the way down, who would you pick? I've gone with 4 Englishmen in the pack and 4 New Zealanders. The entire New Zealand front row. I'm worried about the scrum. And then I've gone for England's lock pairing, which I was surprised. When I sat down, I went, no, I'm picking George Martin over Scott Barrett and Tupu Vai. And that's how much I think of England's locks. Back row, yeah, Chandler Cunningham himself, probably a little bit of a conservative choice there. I'm thinking of the line out. I'm thinking of the fact he's 140 kgs and he's going to dent some holes. Yeah, I've just edged him over Wallace Satiti, both really good young players. Tom Curry, I've gone over Sam Cane. Now, I might get some criticism for that, I'm aware, because weirdly, in a way that Sam Cane used to get some unfair criticism, I see Tom Curry getting some unfair criticism. The guy's absolutely amazing. He's one of England's best players of the last 10 years. And I'll draw a parallel with you. Pieter-Steph du Toit, amazing player, generational talent. He had an injury which almost cost him his rugby career, and his leg, for that matter. And he managed to battle back, and people kind of willed that on. Tom Curry's just gone through something not the same, but similar. He was told by a specialist maybe 6 months ago, you may not play rugby again. Certainly, you may only have a couple of years left in you. He's battled back, and he's got the England 7 jersey from Sam Underhill and the other contenders. And whoever wears 7 for England has to be an immense player, because that is one area. Props, we don't have a lot of options. Back row, we have loads of options. And for Tom Curry to have got the nod, I just think speaks to how good that guy is. He is immense. And if there were a World Cup final this weekend and I had to pick Sam Cane or Tom Curry, I picked Tom Curry. Sam Cane's brilliant. I picked Tom Curry. Ardi Savia at number 8 over Ben Earl. Cannot wait for that battle. And as you can see, the back line is all New Zealand, except for Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, who's had an incredible meteoric rise in his young England career and was great out in New Zealand for England. He's got a freakish skill set. But I mean, if I was able to juggle players around into different shirts, I would go Ben Earl at 7 and I would go Ollie Lawrence at 13. But I'm just doing it 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. And you can see, I think the packs, scrum time, New Zealand have got an edge. Line out, England have got an edge. Back line, New Zealand have got a massive edge. And I am a little bit concerned, if I'm honest. Especially, and to go over what I talked about when the England team got announced, I'm really worried what happens if England get an injury to a centre or a wing. Because the 6-2 split is going to help England match New Zealand physically. But if there's an injury to Ollie Lawrence or Tommy Freeman, I don't know what England do. We could be in a proper pickle. That said, George Ford is one of 4 Englishmen that make it onto the bench, along with Finn Baxter and Dan Cole. So I do think England have got decent scrummaging props coming off the bench. And I've gone for Alex Dombrandt over, trying to remember who the New Zealand, Sami Penny-Finau. But yeah, so I'm more confident with England's bench options, apart from the fact we don't have cover for centre or wing. But I think New Zealand's backline, I think, is going to have the edge. And I don't think England are going to add to the 8 wins that they've got against New Zealand so far. That is my worry. That is my fear. And that's what I predict is going to happen. I'm going to go New Zealand by 6. Which pains me to say. But there we go. I think Steve Borthwick might have got his balance of selection wrong. But let's see. Game is on Saturday. I'll be here covering it on the channel. Hit subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. See you on the next one.